I'm in Launceston, Tasmania. This is a city, and indeed within a state, that is entirely reliant on buses for public transport. So why then am I on a tram? Hi, I'm Tasmanian, and this is the Forgotten Trams of Launceston, Tasmania. Launceston has a massive bus network, much larger than most cities of its size. Launceston has a population which varies between 75 to 100,000 people depending on what borders you use. It is the main urban hub for Northern Tasmania. As with many cities in Australia and around the world, it used to have trams up until the 1950s. To understand the network, this is a map of the Launceston urban area, and this is where the trams ran. Notice how that they only cover the inner area, as a lot of outer areas have only been developed in the past 20 years. Launceston's first tram lines were opened in 1911 from the CBD to Kings Bridge, David Street in Newstead and Mackenzie Street in Mowbray. Over the coming years, the network was expanded to Sandhill, Carvilla, Kings Wharf, Trevellyn, Newstead Crescent, Mowbray Racecourse, Mowbray Heights, West Launceston and Talbot Road. The network reached its peak in 1937. During the 1940s, the network started to decline. The Kings Wharf and Trevellyn lines closed during the 1940s and the rest during the first few years of the 1950s. The last tram from Launceston City to Newstead ran its last service on the 13th of December 1952, coincidentally exactly 72 years before I wrote the script. The Trevellyn and Kings Wharf lines were replaced by diesel buses, while the rest of the network was converted to trolley buses. These trolley buses were also extended to serve Norwood, Newnham, Kings Meadows and more of West Launceston. All trolley bus routes closed during the winter of 1968, never to reopen. In the years after the closure, all of the trams were sold or scrapped. None entered passenger service on other public networks, though many are now preserved in heritage museums, including the Sydney Tramway Museum. Of the 30-ish Launceston trams, only one has been restored to operating condition as of December 2024. The one operating tram is number 29, which is owned by the Launceston Tramway Museum. The Launceston Tramway Museum operates number 29 on sections of track around the Inverest precinct in Launceston. The LTM also has multiple other trams on display undergoing renovation, as well as a small rail motor. The trams operate on what I believe is 3'6" narrow gauge track. Not all the tracks use the trams, as this section outside the workshop very clearly displays. No tram or train or any sort of rail vehicle could ever possibly get through that. During the 1990s, the Launceston rail yards were bulldozed, leaving prime inner city land for development. The majority of the precinct was developed into an education and heritage precinct, known today as Inverest. Initially, tourist and heritage trains ran to a rebuilt Launceston railway station, but the new track layout proved inefficient and dangerous for trains to travel on, so their operations moved to other locations. Later on, the Launceston Tramway Museum got control of the tracks and has operated trams around the area. The Inverest area has become a tourist hotspot with the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery, University of Tasmania Stadium and Tramway Museum drawing tourists to the area. The introduction of the free Tiger bus in 2016 has brought even more people there. The trams, although historically electric, have to be pushed or pulled by a diesel generator as the cost of overhead wiring is too expensive for the volunteer-based society. So, this is the actual experiences of riding on one of the trams. After getting our tickets, which is approximately $7.50 for a tram ride, and the museum is free to enter, I boarded the tram outside the museum. Firstly, the tram heads northerly, passing the University of Tasmania Stadium to the former Launceston Roundhouse. The tram then heads part of the way back before changing tracks onto a loop around the back of the QV mag. The tram passes the Donald Railway workshops, which on the day I was visiting was having some water problems, and through the Inverness Community Garden onto the track leading to the rebuilt Launceston Railway station. The tram then continues back on towards the museum and reverses back into the museum sidings. It takes about 10 minutes to do the full tram. After riding the tram, I paid a brief visit to a location I go to a lot, the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery. There's an entire room dedicated to Tasmanian Railway memorabilia, as well as a lot of area outside, as the museum is built in the buildings and area of the old railway workshops. Here is some of the footage from the museum that has not already been shown.
Washington schreit es Sanktionen. Hört ihr es nicht? Embargo, Bestrafungsaktionen. Hört ihr es nicht? Das alles im Namen der Menschlichkeit. Sie sind für Profit zu allem bereit. Es rüstet die schwärzeste Reaktion gegen dich und die Sowjetunion. Arbeiter bauen fester die Waffen. Heute ist das heilige Pflicht. Dass sie die Verbrechen beginnen, das Volk ihre Waffen zerbricht. Heute ist der Sozialismus Weltmacht, heute stehen die Völker nicht mehr allein. Drum fester die Einheit, der Kampf wird sich lohnen, wird in der Welt immer Frieden sein. Drum fester die Einheit, der Kampf wird sich lohnen, wird in der Welt immer Frieden sein.
Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time on Tasmanian.